in the hands. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stochastic.com NFL Showdown live before lock. For the first time in 47 years, we have a quality matchup on Thursday Night Football. I mean, look, Bezos and company, they've made some crafty decisions in their day, Neil. I'm not sure doing the whole Thursday night exclusive on Prime is really doing all that much. I mean, who in the world is, first of all, if you don't have Prime at this point, I mean, it's crazy. My dumbass giving it the big business saying, fine, I'll take my stuff by tomorrow morning if I order it tonight. I know, I'm a sucker. I'm a scumbag. I get it. But I can promise you, not many people are getting Amazon Prime just to watch Thursday Night Football this year.
If they are, they're disappointed. It's definitely not worth it. Until tonight, of course.
It's a good one.
I'm excited about this one, yeah.
Me too. Brand said sometimes gross ones are better. Yo, for sure. We've had some fun with some of these terrible games. Look, I'm still betting them. I'm still playing. Like it's still happening one way or another. But Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals. We got a heck of a game today. Divisional AFC North rivalry. AFC North is just jam-packed with good teams, or at least teams that find ways to win in some form or fashion, like the Steelers. But we should be looking forward to this. 46-point total, 3.5-point spread. Then you've got, Benny said Laffy would bet high school lacrosse. That's Ben. Ben legitimately bets, Little League World Series. So,
does he really? No.
Ask him. Ask him.
I mean, I believe you, to be honest.
Ben bets anything, man.
Yeah.
He hit me up one day. He's like, yo, do you want to middle this college lacrosse game with me? He's like, just an amazing, amazing spot. And we did. I forget why he needed me to, I can't remember why he wanted me to go in on it with him, but either way, yeah, Ben bets crazy stuff, dude. He always, I tail him on stuff I've never heard of before. I'm like, I'll take your word for it. But no, we got a fun game. Before we get into this, and we're going to dive right into it because we're starting late today, 7:30 NBA lock means that these shows don't start till 7:30. If it's a 7 o'clock NBA lock, we start at the same time, 7:15 Eastern, just so you guys know. Take one single second, atone for your sins here on the live before lock from the sin bin, baby. We have over 100 already, so appreciate you guys who have jumped in and done so. If you forgot, take one single second here. Subtle reminder, helps us out greatly. Subscribe to the channel. All that good stuff goes a long way for us, and we thank you in advance. Sometimes we just forget. I get it. It's late on a Thursday night. Shit. Anyway, how you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good. I actually really like this game. There are some kind of lower owned plays that I think are really interesting. So this is, to be honest, like I agree with the comment that often the crappy games are better for Showdown, like more fun in some ways. In this case, I think we have a great game that is also going to be really fun for Showdown because we have T. Higgins out. We've got some moving parts, like trends within the teams that I think that there are some like potentially really good plays that are coming in at low ownership that we can talk about.
Well, let's make this happen then. We'll dive straight into it. First thing we have to get out of the way. We're gonna move around a little bit today. Usually we start at quarterback, but we quickly divert course, right? Like we change all the time. So what does it matter? The most important thing is in the next 40 minutes, we get you guys all the information you need to make the right decisions and tweak some of those lineups before we get into this game. I want to start with the running backs because when Matt Gajeski and I talked today, both of us kind of came to the conclusion that if there is one specific position that we're just going to be largely underweight on both teams, it's probably going to be the running back position, including Keaton Mitchell. I know people were in chat talking about his props being a lock and all of that. Yeah, I mean, if he continues with the 15 yards per attempt, sure. I know John Harbaugh said that he wanted to get him more involved, but what does more involved mean after 3 carries? Does it mean 6 or does it mean 16? We have no idea. He's also not priced like a 3-carry running back. He's priced like a running back that has recently had a couple of big blow-up performances on low volume. Then you have Gus Edwards north of 7K. And then the big elephant in the room here, Neil, Joe Mixon. Look, no one's saying Joe Mixon can't get it done. All I'm saying is we're in week 11 and he is yet to get it done, but he's priced like a guy who finishes each week with 20 DraftKings points. Simply has not been the case, and they've been forced to abandon the run more times than not.
Yeah, no, I put it in my article. Joe Mixon has like some of the best usage as far as like the team's carries go. 73.7% of all rushing attempts for the Bengals. That puts him second in the entire NFL behind Josh Jacobs in terms of taking his team's carries. So it is elite volume, but they're also not a like run first team. So even with that, he's not like, I think he's seventh in expected fantasy points on the year. Clearly the volume is elite, but he has such a tough matchup. The Ravens are just so good. Ninth against the run. They're even better against the pass, but I trust the passing game more for the Bengals, even though, it's a tough matchup for both sides. Mixon, I'm with you. Definitely going to be underweight to Joe Mixon. I think I'm probably with you on being underweight to all of the running backs, to be honest, just because looking through the plays, like, it's interesting because the Bengals are very much a defense. So like you'd think I want to have a lot of interest in these Ravens guys. And if I were to be I'm pretty confident I'm going to be underweight on Joe Mixon. I think if I were to be overweight on someone, it will be one of these Ravens running backs. I haven't figured out if I'm going to yet. Gus Edwards obviously is still the bell cow. Like I look at the past 2 weeks as a sample size for this one, because that's really when Keaton Mitchell has been involved. Over the past 2 weeks, Gus Edwards has played 33.6% of snaps, but he's taken 24.6% of the team's carries. He has 16 carries over the past. That's probably the better number. 16 carries over the past 2 weeks. He has run routes on 22.1% of dropbacks, 16.8 expected fantasy points over the last 2 weeks. I'm feeling like there's something wrong as I'm reading these numbers. These are different than I thought I had read earlier. But Gus Edwards
which numbers did you just read? How many carries Gus Edwards had?
Yeah, so I have him earlier. I wrote he had 54% played 54% of the snaps over the past 2 weeks, and now I'm seeing weeks 9 and 10. Now I'm seeing 33.6%. So maybe I don't know what was wrong earlier.
He played very little in week 9.
Okay, so maybe it was just
52% in weeks 8 and 10. In week 9, he played 18%.
Okay, that is it. Yep, I was just looking at week 10, not week 9. Okay, so I'm looking at different numbers. In week 10, he played 54. He had 54% of snaps, saw 45.8% of the team's carries, and ran routes on 26.7% of the team's dropbacks, which is a little bit higher than his season average. Thank you for that. I was so confused why the numbers were so much worse looking at that sample. Yes, because I had 2 games instead of 1. But at least last week he had elite volume, even better than his seasonal role. So, give him that kind of volume against a bad Bengals defense that is a run funnel. I have some interest there. It is tough because, as you noted, Keaton Mitchell has really come on over the past 2 games. He's played 19% of snaps, has had 12 carries, 3 targets over that span as well. So he's jumping in there. Justice Hill still pretty involved. 48% of snaps, actually leads the 3 of them over the past 2 weeks in terms of snaps. 15 carries in that time frame. He's also seen 1 target, but he's run 40% of routes. So they really do have a pretty split backfield here. But Gus Edwards still kind of has that lead role. It's tough because he has that $7,000 price tag. My guess is that I come in underweight to Gus Edwards. We've actually seen Keaton Mitchell's ownership tick up throughout the day. So at this point, at 18% util ownership, and I should look at his captain ownership as well. We now have Keaton Mitchell at 18% captain ownership. 3% captain ownership, 18% util ownership. At those numbers, I'm going to be underweight to Keaton Mitchell. So that leaves maybe Justice Hill as the one that I'm the likeliest to be overweight to the field on. We have Justice Hill coming in at just under 7% ownership. And I get it based on in the most recent game, he seems to have been losing favor a little bit. So maybe that holds. Last week we had Justice Hill just played 26% of snaps, but in week 9 he played 63%. So kind of unclear to me if that's just they decided Keaton Mitchell's better, they're going to keep going to Keaton Mitchell, or kind of a fluky thing that he only played 26% of snaps last week. But I think if I'm going to go to be over the field on any of these Ravens guys, it's going to be Justice Hill, just because pretty small sample size of him being declining in the offense last week. and he's only 2,800, so he could pay off his price tag the easiest of these, and he's getting the lowest ownership by kind of a good amount. So I could see myself going overweight to the field on Justice Hill, but it is a risk. Like, he might be getting squeezed out of this offense. So that's a play you have to decide. Like, are you willing to risk the possibility that Justice Hill is getting squeezed out? For me, I think because the ownership is low enough, the price tag is low enough, I think I'm willing to take my shots on Justice Hill. So if I'm going to be overweight to any running back in this game, I think it's probably Justice Hill.
That's fair. Yeah, my only issue is that you have Justice Hill, you have Gus Edwards, you have Keaton Mitchell. They virtually never target the running backs in the passing game. So, in the rare event that they get one or two targets, which happens, one or two targets per game, you need to make the most of that. And I know Gus Edwards had the 80-yard reception earlier this year. Keaton Mitchell had a long reception last week on one reception. So you have all of that. You also have a rushing quarterback who, I know you haven't seen it recently, but he can serve as a goal line back. And Lamar Jackson's been their best goal line back for how many years now? And then Gus Edwards has been the goal line back, but they haven't used him as much in between the 20s recently. So it's like all of these guys have different roles and unknown opportunity share, like unknown snap shares right now. And they're just like, Gus Edwards has run so hot at the goal line. He's run as hot as any running back that you could imagine at the goal line. I honestly think if his touch counts stay the way they are, because he certainly hasn't been an efficiency back. We know no one's going to argue with me that Gus Edwards has been an efficiency back.
Wait. I would argue with that. Gus Edwards is
How?
extremely efficient. He's like
Not really
over 5 yards per carry guy for his career.
Yeah, and this year he's averaging 4 yards per attempt.
That's still not bad. That's
it's league average. It's fine.
Yeah. I guess just based on his past history, I still like Gus Edwards. I think of as being one of the best like yard per carry running backs in the NFL. Like I think of him as being a pretty good efficiency back. Maybe he hasn't been as good this year, but in general,
he's fine. He's not. I'm not saying he's been terrible, but
okay.
Also, to be fair, this is a guy that averaged 5 yards per attempt as like the second half of a timeshare.
But it's been every single year.
Yeah. Look, I like Gus Edwards. I have like 70% of him in best ball.
Yeah.
Just saying, Gus Edwards isn't the type of guy that's generally ripping off big runs. And
yeah. Correct. Agreed.
He it's a good matchup too against Cincinnati. The run defense has been odd this year though. But no, all I'm saying is this season where Gus Edwards has taken on kind of that league back role where he's seen double-digit carries in all but one of every game since J.K. Dobbins went down in week 1. He's been like kind of what you'd expect for a lead back or for a backup who is now a lead back. That's all I'm saying.
But he's still fine at 4.1 yards per carry.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, all right. Gus Edwards is a decimal back.
All right. Remind me of the definition of decimal back.
If Gus Edwards doesn't score, just take his rushing yardage and move the decimal over. So if he doesn't score, he has 68 yards. He's going to finish with 6.8 fantasy points.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Not really involved in the passing game. Yeah.
At all. Yes, someone's going to be like, yeah, but he might have one reception. Yeah, I get it. But he needs to score. He absolutely needs to score. If he doesn't, fine. That'll be the first time all year. I don't know. Whatever. I think he's fine. I probably like Edwards more than Mixon, than Keaton Mitchell and and Justice Hill. After all I just said about him,
right?
I still like him more than those guys, but I don't love any of the running backs in this game. That's all I'm getting at.
So yeah, although we start with the running backs, I got to say, like of the people that I was talking about that I'm excited to play today, none of them are running backs. Justice Hill would be the one for me that I'm the most excited to play, but it's not because I have any confidence in the play. It's just I think if it works out, it's gonna do really well because he's cheap. He's not getting a ton of ownership, so that's really the reasons to play Justice Hill. But it's not because I'm like I expect him to be awesome in this game.
For sure. No, I'm with you. Sotek said, "Wow, just learned something new for NFL DFS decimal back." Shout out to you guys in chat because Ben and I on the First Look show last year were looking for a term for those type of backs, and one of our people, I forget who it was, but they came up with that. So yeah, pretty good stuff. Anyway, we can move on here. Yeah, for what it's worth, Gus Edwards has 10 attempts inside the 5 this year and 7 touchdowns. So he's got 70% conversion rate on goal line attempts this year.
It's not bad.
Not bad. It's just how long does that last?
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, let's and the fact that Lamar Jackson has 1 goal line touchdown, come on. There's no way he finishes the year like that. What are you doing with Lamar today? Because in our tools, you talk about top play probability in our top single game and showdown plays tool. We have because we definitely spent too much time on running. Well, I guess we broke down all of them, so we're fine.
Yeah.
But he was around like 32% when I looked earlier, top play probability. That's very high for any player, even on a showdown slate.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar, what am I doing with him? I'm playing a ton of Lamar. He's going to be in the vast majority of my lineups, probably over 80%. Maybe he won't get to 90% of my lineups, but my guess is I end up with at least 80% Lamar. The price is decent. We have him 60% chance of being optimal in the util at 54% ownership. So some positive leverage in the flex. In the captain spot, we have him slightly over-owned, 13% ownership, 12% chance of being optimal. But overall, we have him 72% chance of being optimal. We have positive leverage on Lamar, slightly under-owned in the util. The fact that it's a little bit of a run funnel defense for the Bengals, that's maybe a positive for Lamar. Like I'm not sure about that, but it's going to be a competitive game. I would imagine Lamar is going to be willing to run a lot in this game. Hard not to love him with both the passing and the rushing upside here.
I'm with you. Also, I did a video this morning on the Odd Shopper channel, the best bets for Thursday night football. And one of the spots I was looking at was Lamar Jackson over 27.5 passing attempts. It's funny because, Neil, you look at these recent games and I think, most people would go, well, why in the world would you bet that? He hasn't gone over that in however long. But it's funny because look at these games, right? Lamar Jackson last game threw 23 times and you'd be like, oh, they lost. Yeah, but they played ahead from like the entirety of that game up until halfway through the fourth quarter or something. They had a big lead and then the pick 6 and things went south. Then Seattle 26, they smoked them. Arizona 27, that game was in hand. Detroit crushed them 27. So he's been around that number, even in games where they're winning by 30 plus points. 30, 38, Cleveland, again, 19, they smoked them 31, 33. So that's a spot. If the 27.5 is still out there, let's see if it is. It is. It is. That's a spot. I pulled that straight from Odd Shopper earlier today. That's a spot that I would be looking at for sure. If you're not paying too much juice on it, of course. But Neil, I love Lamar Jackson today. This is a great spot. Sure, the run defense has been, worse for Cincinnati than their pass defense. And Ronnie Stanley's missing from this game, which is significant. Losing one of your maybe your best offense, probably your best offensive lineman. But like you said, just the dual threat ability for Lamar Jackson in a 46 point. There's a high total for an AFC North game, really high total for an AFC North game. You want to throw him at flex. You want to throw him at captain. Lamar Jackson, by far, one of the best plays on this slate. Now, with Burrow on the other side, there's no T. Higgins. We'll get into the pass catchers in just a second. No T. Higgins, which means actually we can tie this all into Cincy pass catchers because this is where it gets really interesting. Josephus is out. So without Higgins and him, you've got Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and Trenton Irwin. I know they brought up, what's his name? Who'd they call up from the practice squad? The hell's his name?
Charlie Jones or wait?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Brought him up. Or I guess they activated him off the IR. That's what it was. Yeah, they activated him off the IR. I don't know how much he's going to be. I'm of the belief that Jamar Chase last game played 84% of snaps because he still was not right. They said as much after the game. Like his back still was not 100. He was a legitimate game time decision. So if he jumps back up, and I know it's only been a few days rest, but if he jumps back up to like 93% of snaps and Boyd and Irwin play similar snaps to what they played last time out, where are the snaps going to be available for anyone else? I mean, it feels like we're just going to see those three guys getting almost all of the I could be wrong, but that's the way it feels looking after last week to this week.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I'm expecting. I'm expecting it to be Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, Trenton Irwin, some scraps maybe for Charlie Jones, Stanley Morgan. Do we have Stanley Morgan projected? Is he out? I thought that Stanley Morgan was the I was looking for inactive news. I don't think that I saw Stanley Morgan being out. Maybe I missed something else where he was on the practice squad or something. Let me look that up real quick because I mean if Stanley Morgan is out, I guess that would make it easier to like think just go to Charlie Jones as that like very large field dart throw play. But honestly, I don't think any of the dart throws are that great for Cincinnati among the wide receivers. Like of the wide receivers, the only ones I'm going to have in any significant volume are Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, Trenton Irwin. Love all three of them. All three of them extremely involved when T. Higgins is out. I wrote it up. Trenton Irwin, third on the Bengals. When T. Higgins is out, third on the Bengals in route participation and fourth in target share at 71.4% route participation, 16.3% target share. Both those are pretty solid wide receiver three. Now we get Yoshevich out. That might just help Trenton Irwin even more. He might have even more of a role. Tyler Boyd has been kind of playing like a wide receiver too. 2.1% target share in games without T. Higgins. It's normally just 15.2%. So almost a 7% jump. And last week in particular, he was targeted a ton. I think he had a 30% target share, more than Chase last year for last week for Tyler Boyd. So
twice as many targets as Chase. I also think again that a lot of that had to do with Chase not being 100%, but that's
true.
my personal opinion.
No, I think you're probably right about that. I got to look up Stanley Morgan. I mean, it's such an inconsequential thing.
Practice squad.
Okay, so he was not called up to the
last I looked. No, I'll check for you one more time, but last I looked, no.
Okay, yeah, I'm
assuming it's because Charlie Jones.
Yeah, I think that you're right. They also called up another player from the practice squad, Shedrick. Wait, they called up Shedrick, whatever, from the practice squad. These guys, Shedrick Jackson from the has been eligible practice squad. I don't even know if he is in the player pool, so I want to look at that. But honestly, none of these. Yeah, he is in the player pool at 200. So I guess Shedrick Jackson called up from the practice squad at 200. Not going to be owned at all. Maybe if I were playing 150 lineups, I would have a few shares just because he was called up from the practice squad. But my expectation is that among the pass catchers, it's going to be Chase, it's going to be Boyd, it's going to be Trenton Irwin. All look great. All are priced, where they should be. Irwin, I think, is probably my favorite of himself and Boyd. Obviously, Chase is just a different tier. He's Chase. If you can get Chase in your lineup, you want Chase in your lineup. Irwin, I guess he's getting 23% ownership, so not going completely overlooked. I don't know. I think that all three of them are great plays. Chase, Boyd, Irwin, great plays. I don't think I'm really going to be going to Charlie Jones, Shedrick Jackson here. They are in a 150 set. I'd get to some. In 50 lineups, I'm not getting to any.
And, it's funny because with Jamar Chase, dude, this guy, even last week with only 6 targets, clearly not being 100%, he still had a solid game, right? Wasn't getting you there because Higgins and Keenan Allen, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, all of those guys went nuts. He still had, what did he have, like 6 for 127 and a touchdown or something?
He was in my best Millie Maker. I only played 4, I think, but he was in my best one. I think he put up like 27 fantasy points.
Right.
Yeah, it was bizarre because
and other weeks that might be enough.
Right, exactly. It was just that week we had a lot of wide receivers going off. That wasn't really great, but it's still just, Jamar Chase. The floor is so high. To see that when he's hurt is just incredible.
But it's funny because he's cooked Marlon Humphrey at times in the past. He had a 200-yard game where Marlon Humphrey essentially shadowed him all game. Marlon Humphrey's out. So there's still some good players in the secondary for Baltimore, but I certainly forget about what he's done in the past. If you were to tell me, would you rather have Jamar Chase out there with or without Marlon Humphrey? Obviously without Marlon Humphrey. So that's another advantage there. I love Jamar Chase tonight. I'm not telling you guys anything you don't already know, but just when it comes to pay up players, and I know you don't have a ton of pay up options, like pay up skill players for Baltimore, but I'm finding ways to make sure Jamar Chase is in these lineups today. I'm just not convinced. And Tyler Boyd's matchup is pretty difficult. I'm not convinced that Tyler Boyd sees that massive target share again. Still think he's a good play because they're going to be out. He's going to be out there pretty much the whole game, and just get pretty targets that are at least easier to convert as your slack. But Jamar Chase, to me, I feel, and Matt said it this morning, he's like, yeah, this could be a legitimate 15 target game. And I really do think it could be. It could also be one of those weird shootouts on Thursday night. 24 of 31 games played in primetime this year have gone under. The under is 24 and 7. It is 77%, which is nuts. But I'm actually staying away from the under in this game. I'm not hitting the over. I just don't really have my finger on the pulse, Neil. But I love Jamar Chase. And if I can captain him, I'm going to do it. I'm going to play him wherever I can tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you should. Jamar Chase is he's a beast. He's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. We have him optimal in the util 55% of the time, at captain 14% of the time. He's going to be in at least more than, I think I'm probably going to have more Lamar Jackson than Jamar Chase, but those are kind of like Jamar Chase, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, kind of in a tier of their own in terms of how many lineups they're just going to get into, because you're just trying to make highly projected lineups. These are all guys that just project extremely well, and the floor is pretty high.
Yep. The tight ends. We got 1,500 people watching with us, so we'll do our best to get through this as quick as possible. Again, we started late today. With these tight ends, though, for Cincinnati, Drew Sample, Irv Smith, Tanner Hudson. I mean, Hudson's been elevated to seeing those targets. Again, they're not like super valuable in the sense that they're using him downfield, but Burrow's been leaning on him quite a bit. We've seen his routes run go up from week over week. He's an interesting play. Also, as I mentioned to Matt, we agreed this morning, it's not exactly a sticky stat here, but Irv Smith, despite only seeing 5 targets over the last 2 weeks, he does have 3 red zone targets over that stretch and 1 at the goal line. So it appears that he is someone that Burrow has looked towards in the goal line or in the red zone. But Tanner Hudson has been the guy that's seen the higher target share for sure over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think so. Ranking these guys, Tanner Hudson is actually my favorite just because in the 4 games he's played, he's run routes on 42.5% of dropbacks, target share in those games, 11% target share, which is 4th on the Bengals. So Tanner Hudson, he's a receiving back. He's not out there to block. He's out there when he's on the field. He's running routes. He's 2,600. We have him at fairly low ownership. So of these guys, I would say he is pretty good. Like, he's honestly one of my favorite plays on the slate at ownership. We have him at under, I guess the ownership has come up a little bit from where we had it earlier. We had him earlier at sub 10% ownership. It has come up to 16% util ownership. We still have him 18% optimal in the util, 2% captain ownership, 3% optimal. I still think he's one of my favorite plays on the slate. It's not as much of a smash spot as it was when we had him a little bit lower owned, but I still like him at this ownership. I think that he is a very capable pass catcher. I think that of these Cincinnati guys, Tanner Hudson is my favorite. Irv Smith, actually, we have the ownership has come down a bit on Irv Smith. I think he has a 7% target share on the year, which is just atrocious. We did a Bengals Showdown slate a couple weeks ago. I don't remember if it was me or you, or if it was Sunday night with EMAC, but I said in that game, I thought Irv Smith was going to lose out on some of his snaps at like overtime. And at the time I was saying Drew Sample. It was my reasoning for liking Drew Sample. Of course, Drew Sample caught a touchdown in that game, kind of bailed me out because it was really Tanner Hudson coming on more so than Drew Sample as the pass catcher in that game. So got a little bit lucky in that game, to be honest, with the Drew Sample touchdown, but Tanner Hudson is really the one that is taking over that role when he's out there for Irv Smith. And, I was thinking that it was a new thing that he was like really picking up, but he actually earlier in the season, every game he's been active, Tanner Hudson has run a significant amount of routes. So to me, when he's active, at a low price tag and not getting a ton of ownership, Tanner Hudson is my favorite. That's a good point though, with Irv Smith getting 3 end zone looks. Like, that's really valuable on a showdown slate. A touchdown at 3,000 probably pays off his price tag. Maybe needs another catch or 2, but he would probably pay off his price tag if he catches a touchdown. And we actually have Irv Smith now as the one who is sub 10% ownership, which tells me that all the other sites doing projections have raised Tanner Hudson above Irv Smith. So I'm not alone in thinking that Tanner Hudson probably on the way up while Irv Smith is on the way out. But at its ownership, I actually have interest now again in Irv Smith if he's going to be half the ownership of Tanner Hudson. So, yeah, my all day I've been thinking I love Tanner Hudson as the guy who's going to be low owned, and now we have Irv Smith as the low owned guy, and he's still out there enough that maybe he's the one that I'm going to be taking some shots on here too. And then Drew Sample, he's out there a lot. He's just not much of a pass catcher. I think he has really low. What is it? I wrote this down earlier. 11 targets in 9 games this season, running routes on 14% of dropbacks. He's out there a lot playing, but he's mostly blocking out there. So Drew Sample, you're kind of relying on a touchdown. If he's getting just over 1 target per game, you kind of need it to be a touchdown. So of the 3 of them, I'd say Drew Sample I actually have the least interest in, but he is 400. So he would pay off his price tag with 1 touchdown. All 3 of them I listed as low owned plays that I have some interest in. I don't know. It's tough now that Irv Smith is the one getting the least ownership. Now I'm thinking, well, maybe I need to reconsider Tanner Hudson as my favorite, but I really like Tanner Hudson as a capable pass catcher who's just going to be out there a lot. But now I have to think about maybe I'll have some interest in Irv Smith as well.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, if Irv Smith finds the end zone, that could be the difference. We'll see. Guys, by the way, Vivid Picks. I'll keep it short because we have a short show today, and I want to get to this Baltimore team and run the Sims. But $300 first match deposit bonus. It's huge. You deposit 100, you have 200. Deposit 300, you got 600. You only have 20, you put 20, and you got 40. And when you sign up, this is only the link in the description. Partnered with us. You can't get this anywhere else. Can't go directly to the site and get this. Or Jordan can throw it in chat as well. $300 first match deposit bonus and a $25 insurance play. So if you lose your first play, you're just taking the over-unders, just like Prize Picks or Underdog, any of them. Building out cards, over-unders, all of your favorite lines, whatever it may be, throwing them in, multiplying the payouts. Huge, huge, huge deposit bonus here. Up to $300, 100% matched, and the $25 insurance play. If you lose it, it all comes back to you in site credit. Link in the description and in the chat. Make sure, if you're on the other sites, reallocate some of that money over here because you're collecting free money that these other sites are no longer going to give you. So Vivid Picks, if you're not there yet, links in the description and it's in chat. All right, so let's talk about the Ravens. We're making pretty quick work of this. Let's talk about the Ravens pass catchers. Not nearly as concentrated as Cincinnati. That's one thing we can agree on here. Now, it doesn't mean that Nelson Aguilar is going to be a high target share guy. We get all of that, right? But he's going to be out on the field 40-50% of the time. Zay Flowers, Bateman, Duvernay might play a few snaps, but Odell Beckham's another guy where you say, oh, he scored in back-to-back weeks, but then you see that, his opportunities are going down considerably. He's not on the field as much. He's not running a lot of routes. He only ran 12 routes in week 10. Fortunately, for anyone that may have played Odell Beckham, he scored, but only 33% of snaps. And we've seen week over week since week 8, his snap share has come down.
Yeah, so I'll rank it since we're trying to do it quickly. Mark Andrews, the Bengals are awful, have been really bad against tight ends this year. They are, I want to say, 3rd worst in the league in terms of schedule adjusted fantasy points given up to tight end. So it's a great spot for Mark Andrews. He is in the prime spot of all of these pass catchers for the Ravens. Isaiah Likely only ran 1 route last week, so I don't think I'm going to Isaiah Likely. If you want to, he's obviously like, if Mark Andrews gets hurt, Isaiah Likely becomes an amazing play. But as long as Andrews is out there, Isaiah Likely just has not been as involved as we would have expected coming in. So it's Mark Andrews number 1 for me. Zay Flowers pretty clearly is the other top pass catching option for the Ravens. I'm breaking the tie because it's a better matchup for Mark Andrews, but Zay Flowers is just he's been getting the volume. So he would be number 2 for me on the Ravens. To me, number 3 would be Rashad Bateman. Just seeing the trends, seeing that last week, Rashad Bateman ran routes on 77% of dropbacks. I think it's going to stick. I think that he was, kind of hurt coming into the year, banged up throughout the summer. I think that he's kind of built up to the point where now they feel comfortable having him out there more. We'll see if that's the case, but 77% route participation last week, had 4 targets. So, not elite, but at least got a few targets there. And they didn't pass a ton in the most recent game. So I'm not reading too much into the 4 targets. So it would be Andrews, Flowers, Bateman. After that, probably still OBJ. We did have Nelson Aguilar actually ran 14 routes, ran more routes than OBJ last week. He's been pretty consistently running routes. I want to say around 45% on the year. So it is kind of close between those two. Aguilar being 400. fifth on the Ravens route participation, target share, and target share, 48.3% route participation on the year. So it's not really an outlier there for Aguilar. 8.8% target share, not ideal. I'd probably still put OBJ over Aguilar, but at low ownership, I do have some interest in Aguilar as, you know, one of the cheapest dart throws also. So I'd say Andrews, Flowers, Bateman, OBJ, and then finally Aguilar would be the last pass catcher I'm playing from the Ravens.
I think I'd rank him the same as you, except I would put Aguilar ahead of OBJ, I think.
I think that's reasonable.
Only because the price point is dirt. What is he, like 800 or something?
He's 800, yeah.
Yeah, to me, and I totally get where you're coming from here, but I would take the same. I just think Odell's overpriced. Like not to say you ranked him high, you know, it's not like you're ranking Odell Beckham all the way up top, but yeah, no, I'm not totally opposed to getting some Nelson Aguilar. Matter of fact, I have some lineups with Nelson Aguilar in them today, and I'm fine with it. If he's going to be out there 40% of the time, Neil, I'll hope that he gets a 25-yard end zone target, which we've seen a couple times this year, you know?
Exactly.
That's all it is. And it's a showdown slate. One of those at 800 is literally all you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Very quickly, because I want to get to the Sims here. I know the people want to see it too, what our exposures look like in the top lineups. We had some fun with this on Monday night, looking through all of that as well. Where would you rank the top tier plays, just in order, like Chase, Mixon, Mark Andrews, like those top skill players?
So not the quarterbacks?
Chase, Andrews, top skill players. Is it Chase, Andrews, Mixon?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Me too. Yeah. Andrews is capable of a 2-touchdown game any given time of the week. All right.
Yeah.
By the way, shout out to all you guys who are still with us, who have been kind enough to hit that thumbs up. Odell or Bateman, we had a question in super chat. I would actually go Bateman there.
Me too.
Yeah. Tucker or OBJ, way weird spots. OBJ captain, large field. Okay. Would you go Tucker or OBJ?
Probably Tucker.
I think I would too. Tucker had a 19 fantasy point game this year.
He's so good.
Normally I wouldn't say Tucker, but I would probably go Tucker here too. By the way, I like both kickers in this game. I kind of like Baltimore defense as well. The Cincinnati defense doesn't do as much for me, only because, not to say you can't play them, obviously you can, but Baltimore runs a lot more. As you mentioned earlier, since he is a pass first team, Joe Burrow still appears to be prone to some mistakes. Just less mistake. I know Lamar threw a pick 6 last week against Cleveland. I get it. But at home favorites. Yeah, I know Ron, I know you're missing a top Ronnie Stanley, but I would still go Baltimore defense. Anyway, throw the Sims up there, Jordan. I want to get Neil's thoughts on a couple of these lineups. Oh, and guys, all of our NFL packages, 20% off. This is to commemorate the $1 million winner that we had using the Sims tool on Sunday, and the $100,000 winner. Well, and the other $100,000 winner, because the dude that won the millie won the spy, and the other guy, I can't shout them all by name right now. Short Gamer TV. I forget the other two. Either way, they used the Sims tool. It was we introduced this tool only in week 1, first time we ever had it, and we had a guy take down the millie this week. We had someone take down the fucking play action, which is insane. That's like the hardest contest to win, $100,000. So we said, you know what? 20% off. Anybody that wants to jump in, test the waters. Link in the description and in chat for the Sims tool. 20% off, whether you want the Sims Max, Sims Daily, or a data package, whether you just want to do a week or a month, doesn't matter. They're all down there, 20% off for the next couple of days. All right, let's take a look at the top lineups, Neil. And I would love your thoughts here. So these are sorted by simulated ROI. So that's Mark Andrews at captain with McPherson, Joe Mixon. It was blurry on my end. Lamar Jackson, Ravens D, and Zay Flout. So that's a Lamar double stack with Ravens D, and then Mixon with Cincy's kicker.
Interesting. I mean, it doesn't sound that much like a ton of lineups that I am building tonight. And let me put Jordan. Oh, I can't see it right now. So we have
just go to YouTube. If you're on YouTube, just maximize the screen. It's better now.
oh yeah, that you're right. That would probably be there. I mean, I got it. So like Mark Andrews with Lamar and Zay Flowers. So Lamar with his two top pass catching options, Evan McPherson and Joe Mixon from the Bengals. This is our top ROI lineup. That's interesting. Like this is not a lineup that to me is like one of my favorites, but it's leaving 200 on the table. I guess in this case we have 0 dupes for 10,000. I think in the actual large field GPs, this one will be duped a fair amount, I would think. But like from a projection standpoint, this looks like a really strong lineup. Like these are some of the best plays on the slate. So I'm not surprised that it grades out well. I'm a little bit surprised that we have it at 0 dupes across this many lineups. But yeah, I mean, it looks like playing a lot of the best plays. I told you, Mark Andrews, clearly one of the best plays on the slate. So yeah, not bad.
Yeah, maybe it's just not a lot of dupes because it's, no Burrow, no Chase.
True.
It's just Mixon and McPherson.
That's
Jordan,
a good point.
can you sort by dupes for a second? I want to see the most duped lineup that we have. When you ran 10,000, right, in the contest generator? Okay. Flowers, McPherson, Chase, Burrow, Jackson, Hudson. Yeah, I mean, that's a chalky lineup. There's your semi punt at Captain Neil. Trenton Irwin with McPherson, Chase, Burrow, Lamar, and Zay Flowers. So you're getting a lot of really good players there. You're getting 4 top priced guys. Well, 3.5 really. Jordan, one more thing. Favorite 150 before we go, and just sort by exposures. And then go down to where it says position and sort that by captain. All right, let's see here. What do you think, Neil, before you look? What do you think is the highest owned captain? 1, 2, and 3, if you had to guess.
Across our top 150, Lamar, Burrow, and Chase.
All right, very close. I believe Burrow's 4. I think I can see that down there. It's Andrews, Chase, Jackson, Burrow.
Okay.
I have no problem being overweighted captain to Mark Andrews. 0 issue with that at all.
Yeah, me neither. Just some of the best plays getting in there as our top owned captain. That's typically what you want to see.
Yeah, exactly. Scroll down a little bit, Jordan. I know it's locked. I'm curious. 6% Boyds, 2% Ravens, 2% flat. So it really looks like the majority of our captain ownership is going to what, 4 players?
Those top 4, yeah.
Really 3, I guess. What do we have Burrow at? Almost. Okay, so 9. Yeah. Wow. It's like 60%.
Yeah, going to those 3, that's interesting.
66, 67% at okay. I don't hate it. I guess we're playing for a big Mark Andrews game. Personally, I would like to see more Jamar Chase.
For your lineups.
Got a lot of Jamar Chase at captain, a lot of Lamar, but no issues with any of that. Anyway, Neil, great thread today on Twitter as always. You guys should follow him for all of the stuff he's doing over there for Showdown slates and more. Check out all the stuff he's got going on here on the channel at PlayerQDFS, me at Laffy_D. And shout out to our boy Jordan Klein for producing this one as always. Good luck tonight, guys. Catch you back here for the next one. Peace.